Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Broken Sword in the Shadow of the Templars. No, just Shadow of the Templars, not in the Shadow of the Templars. We got rid of the policeman, we got rid of the juggler. That means we can open the sewer grate and see what's down here. Now, I don't particularly know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. Let's see, we could go back up, I suppose, and look at the sign, because we couldn't look at that before.
In French, English, and German, it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the knightly order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine."
1317, okay. So, we've got several things going on here, which I assume I'm supposed to work with. Again, I'm kind of confused why somebody would have such ambitiously decorated spikes in a sewer. But whatever, let's look at what this is. It just kind of seems pointless. Iron gates in the sewer for no reason. So there's a boat with a winch, and I just took all the chain out.
The hook lay in a bed of chain.
Let's look at these.
The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone.
Let's look at the next one.
The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templier and something about innocence.
And let's look at this one.
My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe.
So, one of my thoughts here is it probably would be a great time to do some director's cut gameplay, another cipher puzzle or something different, just to get away from what has become pretty monotonous for a while of talking to a lot of people. Would be welcome, but I don't think I'm gonna see it unless it turns out that there is some scene that's a director's cut thing just added into the game where George plays, and I don't believe that to be true. Let's see, here's what the hanged man image we saw, and here's the skull.
I pushed against the door, but it seemed to be locked.
So, unless I put the red ball in the skull's mouth for some reason, which I would have no reason for it. I don't even know why I really have this red ball. Red ball with this?
Maybe not.
How about this with this?
Maybe not.
How about this with the skull? Why did I just get a goat sound?
The door was a handsome piece of work.
Seems like there's only one thing there, though.
The hook lay in a bed of chain.
And let's try some of these on each of the walls.
That sounded pretty solid.
So I'm gonna just bang against the walls to see if I can break anything with it.
Nothing hollow there.
It was time for some brutal destruction. Hey, that's hollow! I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. There was some sort of mechanism hidden inside the wall, with a lever in the middle of it.
So here's a prime example of how these old games scaled really oddly, because normally you would have the camera zoomed in so much you could actually make out what this stuff is, but here it's zoomed out so far for just
Here
an
goes.
artistic decision, really.
The secret door had jammed. I couldn't get through that gap.
Alright, fine. We'll take this. And we'll put it on that. And he's one step ahead of me, it seems. And now we can go through this area.
Boy, had I ever made a mess of that door.
Let's look here. Seems like we're getting further and further away from the church, so that must be something we do later.
In the beginning was the end.
An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness.
In the end will be a beginning.
An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report.
The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say, our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sword of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lochmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results, not petty bickering, not excuses. Now, Professor. Baphomet?
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition the next time that we meet. It will be to become the princess of this world!
Wow.
So that group of 6 people somehow is destabilizing the entire world. We're 2 pages further in our notebook now. And there actually is a broken sword in the game called Broken Sword. Who would have guessed? And turns out that only the guy that killed the first guy is an assassin. And it was the Templars themselves who were bad guys that killed everybody else. Let's see. Let's look at this. It says non-ominous Marie Claire Intrepid. I think if I just put the tripod down and the gem, it will show me something.
There was a large circle marked out on the floor with a stump in the middle. Around the circle, I could see words inlaid into the stone. On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases, non omnis moriar and clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness.
So, tripod? Here?
The tripod's feet fitted neatly into the notches on the top of the stump.
And gem here?
The light falling from above struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays. And each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the left, I could read M-A-R-I-B. Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant.
And we just jump back to Nico's
Nico,
apartment.
I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knights Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the broken sword, whatever that is.
And how does the assassin fit into all this?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Plantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how do they hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria, but they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam,
and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria. You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to Andre, anonymously.
So, they're basically doubling the time in this game by having him come back to Nicole's apartment over and over again and just tell her exactly what he just did. It's kind of pointless. Bad storytelling, bad game development. It's not like Nicole's even really responding too much to it. Let's ask her about the red ball.
That is not a good idea.
I don't know why, but whatever. And see, I could look at the manuscript again, but I kind of don't even see a point. Let's just leave.
Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, George.
So, off we go. Airport and Syria to Marib. We can't go back to Ireland, so we're flying all over Europe, it seems, a few hours later. And we are in Marib. And this is starting to feel like Indiana Jones at this point. Let's see, we've got a cat, a table, a wall of knickknacks, some people, another tourist, and I guess that might very well be what they're going for, is to make a Broken Sword game that is close to an Indiana Jones game. In fact, I would have sworn that this scene was from an Indiana Jones game, but it's not. Interesting. Because I remember playing this section, but don't remember where it was, what game it was from. It's obviously been a very long time since I've played either one of those, Broken Sword or one of the Indiana Jones point-and-click adventure games, which I'll eventually get around to covering. But
I hadn't come all this way to seek out curios.
I guess I'm just gonna try to move as fast forward as possible. The bell rings and the guy comes out. Let's see what happens when I pet the cat. Cat then jumps over there.
As I didn't see the point of going all the way over there to get scratched, I stayed where I was.
So, if I pet the cat and then ring the bell, maybe throw the ball at him. And there's nothing under the cat, so I don't know what I'm trying to accomplish here.
Hey there, young fella. Speak you the English? Speak you the Anglaise? Parlez-vous anglais?
Yes, si, and indeed oui, and rather better than you by the sound of it. My name is Nico. Welcome to my grand emporium of quality merchandise.
Let's ask some silly questions and then ask some sillier questions.
So, this is your stand?
Oh, yes, sir. Though stand does not begin to do it justice. The finest in this bustling metropolis.
This is a bustling metropolis?
Well, not per se, no.
How much are those books there on the shelf?
Have you any Syrian pounds?
I think I might have a couple of Irish pund.
Then they're too expensive for you, sir.
You speak very good English.
Thank you, sir. I learned from tapes that my uncle procured.
Oh, a language course.
No, sir. Jeeves and Wooster. Gussie, think noto. Aunt Agatha! What ho!
That's not a very friendly cat you got there, Nijo.
No, sir. It is a very unfriendly cat.
Why do you keep it?
Oh, it's not mine. It just rests where it pleases. And today it pleases to rest there. As Kipling would say, it is a cat that walks by itself.
Fiercely independent.
And it smells.
Is that your father lurking in the back of the stand?
He is indeed a roaring fellow. Ayub's his name.
You don't sound like you respect him very much.
Don't I? Not only do I respect him, I rather like him. For all his bluster, we get on very well.
Does the word Templar mean anything to you?
Templar. Templar. Why, yes, of course.
It does?
Yes. A splendid series of books by Mr. Leslie Chatteris, featuring the roguish Mr. Simon Templar.
Great. That's a real help, Nijo. Anything else?
The Saint television program, featuring Mr. Roger Moore of the quizzical eyebrow, and a stick man with a halo. Bing!
So he doesn't know anything about the Templars for real.
So all Templar means to you is Roger Moore.
I only watched it for the stick man with the halo. Bing! He was better animated.
So I'm correct in saying that the word Templar doesn't mean much to you.
Well, there was the Order of Knights who were wiped out in an Inquisition in 1312, I suppose.
That's them. What else do you know?
Just how much information do you think there is on a Trivial Pursuit card?
A what?
From the medieval edition. We had it on the stand a couple of years ago. Ask me what a feuter is. Go on, I know all this stuff.
Never mind.
Let's ask him this question. What is this? I don't even know.
Okay, forget about the Templars for a minute. What do you know about knights?
Like the Crusaders, they came to the East on an insane and pointless mission. They sacrificed thousands of lives, including their own, for insensate pride. How anyone can find them romantic confounds me.
So now let's just ask him about all the objects I have.
This plaster was very useful in Ireland.
Really? Your fund of travelers' tales never ceases to enthrall me.
What do you make of this?
A man-sized double-ply tissue stained with Bestheimer's number 12 white pancake grease paint, apparently.
We lost the nose. I guess we used it.
Look at this. A lifting key as used by Parisian sewer workers.
Calais, sir. I must remember this day for posterity. My grandchildren will be fascinated.
What do you make of this?
Well, beyond the obvious, very little. That pattern seems very familiar, though.
Do you know the name Merlin?
I'm afraid not, old bean.
What can I do with a blood pressure gauge?
Don't tempt me to tell you, sir.
What do you think of this, eh?
Oh, sir, what a splendid plaything. One day, when I am rich, I am going to build a world-renowned collection of brightly colored balls.
Are you serious?
In deadly earnest. People will come from far and wide to see my
Yes?
collection. The Rockefellers and the Gettys can keep their hoards of so-called fine art. But answer me this. What good is a Picasso, I ask you, if you cannot bounce it off a wall?
You may have a point.
So it seems like there might be more conversation that could be had with the ball. Let's ask about the painting for the picture first.
Have you seen this man before?
No, sir. I'm glad to say. Cold eyes.
Let's ask about this again.
Seriously, do you really think this thing's so great?
Take it away, you tempter.
I'll swap it for something off your stand.
Due to seasonal financial considerations, I'm afraid I cannot.
I thought you wanted this thing.
I do, sir. The stand doesn't.
Which in translation meant it's not really my stand, and I'll be in big trouble if I swap anything for something that I want myself.
Alternatively, is there any service that you require?
Not at the moment, but I'll bear it in mind.
So he might do something for me for the ball. Interesting.
Here, shake hands, Nijo.
I'd rather not, sir.
Still haven't gotten anybody to fall
So
for
long,
that.
Nijo.
Toodle pip, sir.
So, that's one conversation down. It looks like we've got a couple things to look at and some conversations happen there, a conversation happen there, and over here on the right is even more people to talk to, one more person, plus a whole nother room, plus a whole nother thing to look at, plus places to go. So a lot of stuff to do here since we just arrived. How far? What's all this about? Interesting. How far in the game are we now? Confirm save. Click this. I have no idea what this is. This is some kind of bug. 58% done with the game. Since the game kind of centers around going back and forth from Paris, I wouldn't be surprised if we do a little bit here, maybe an hour of gameplay at most, and then we get back to Paris and things have changed a little bit, and then we continue playing from that. And eventually, I guess maybe we'll find this broken sword, or we'll find the assassins. We kind of have to reevaluate what we're even doing now, because we now know the Templars are the bad guys. The guy who got blown up was a Templar. He was blown up by an assassin who is a bad guy himself, but he's probably doing something good, because we know the Templars somehow are influencing the entire world and making everything rotten for everybody. So that's no good. So ideally, maybe George should just walk away, like he should have at the very beginning of the game too. Is just walk away and stop investigating. He's just an innocent bystander, a tourist, not a reporter, has no reason to be doing any of this really. He's not even really doing a great job at impressing Nicole. If this is about just getting the attentions of a girl, it's just kind of all silliness for silliness' sake. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. If you want to support me further, go to my main YouTube page. On the right there's a button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.